Coming up next on the Jeff Crilley Show, business lessons from a beekeeper, how you can create your own buzz. That's next.
Many are predicting that the worst is yet to come, which is unfortunate, said one person here. Until now, they've...
A burglar in his home this morning by webcam.
As a journalist of over 25 years, stories are what make my world turn.
Reporting live from the Dallas newsroom tonight.
I took the jump from my familiar life and started a PR firm from my home.
We're talking about anyone with a camcorder like the one I'm using becomes a television network.
We started slowly growing the company, and we now have over 100 clients, and we've branched into the world of live digital broadcasting. I now own 8 different TV studios and have a huge team. And the stories that I now get to share are sometimes the most important of my life. Life has a funny way of coming around full circle. This is the Jeff Crilley Show.
Okay, you heard in the tease, business lessons from a beekeeper. What can you learn from a beekeeper? You can learn a ton. I mean, if you really look at a colony, there's a lot going on in there. And to talk about that right now, Russell Duckworth, he is the Vice President of American Bank Business Finance. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thanks, Jeff. I appreciate the opportunity.
Okay, well, thank you for helping me with that tease. I'm leaning in now. What can we learn from bees?
Oh, there is no limit. It basically means that you have to put yourself in the situation in a fearless way. And I think that's something that I appreciate that my dad taught me very early is don't be afraid of anything. So you can imagine working with these tiny venomous insects. A lot of people are terrified by them, but I'm telling you there's great opportunity if you'll set your fear aside and just get your hands in there and get to work. You actually become a part of a super organism when you're a beekeeper. So it's something larger than yourself. And I think when we look at the world around us and the business communities that we work in, it says a lot about us. You know, where can we find opportunities not only to pollinate or to find something sweet, but how can we share that? How can we go into those networking opportunities and tell folks how excited we are? Bees dance when they do that. When they find a Dr. Pepper sitting on a picnic table, the first thing they do is go back and tell all their friends, this is where it is, you need to come get some of this. And that's, I think, what I love about networking in the Dallas community.
I love it. And I say you got to circulate to percolate. And there's a lot of small business owners who say, oh, I'm going to do this over the internet. And you really have to get out and press the flesh, don't you?
Right. You know, I like to use an agricultural metaphor when it comes to the way we develop business. A lot of folks think you just go out and pick the fruit. And you can be successful doing that. But in reality, what you need to do is find the place where your product is the best fit and prepare that area and plant the seeds and tend, right? Weed and feed and water and earn the right to harvest. And that's, I think, the lesson from business development that is so valuable from having not just the experience of a beekeeper, but being a business development officer for 30 years.
Russell in a minute, but I want to play a video. You're a part of several networking groups. One of them is called 3,000,000%. Let's roll that video.
My name is Russell Duckworth with American Bank Business Finance, and our group accelerates cash flow for our B2B customers. Goals are to develop your brand. You're more likely to engage with the members of that group in a way that helps you understand who you are and what it is that people find engaging about you beyond the name of the organization that you wear on your shirt. I can't say enough about how it's really an order of magnitude kind of increase from the traditional networking framework that most organizations engage in, whether it's a round robin and my 30 seconds where I get to talk about what I'm doing for business, or even a speed dating process where it's kind of like, well, I've got 60 seconds to tell you what I'm looking for in a networking partner, and then you do the same thing. I mean, that's great. That's very good informational exchange, but it doesn't deepen relationships like spending dedicated time digging in and getting deep with each other. I think encouraging is probably the best word for what we do in those groups, because it might be considered advice, or as we say, going deep with each other. But I think the thing that's easy about being in a group of people that there's a developed trust in that group is that you feel free to share your challenges and your wins. I mean, there are some people who don't feel comfortable about bragging about, what they've accomplished. but we need to celebrate all of it, the wins and the opportunities to learn. And I think it's helpful to have people that can see the forest for the trees. And in so much of our lives, we're down in the details of it, so deep that we don't see everything that's going on around us. And to have somebody that's standing beside us and objectively can say, you know what, let's take a step back and look at the real situation that you're in here. It seems really desperate, but the truth is there's a lot of opportunity where you are right now, whether it's because of the good work that they're doing or because of the chaos that they've kind of stumbled into. And I think you know, if you have a natural tendency to be able to see the opportunity or the good in a situation, despite how everybody else might label it, there's probably a good chance that you would slide right into a growth group leadership spot and be successful. And when I say that, I mean walk away from every meeting feeling like your presence there for an hour made a difference. And maybe not necessarily in somebody else's life, but I always find that when I leave a situation like that, I have a different perspective on what's going on in my situation.
I love that. Okay, so for the person who's watching this right now who says, yeah, but I'm not a natural networker, I'm kind of a wallflower. Is there an art to networking? I mean, you don't have to be the life of the party to be an effective networker.
No, you don't. And I believe probably the most important thing to do is to show up. A lot of folks are afraid. You know, what will people think of me? What am I supposed to say? If you just show up and allow what's going to happen, you can learn so much in that situation. Part of what we do in 3 million%, and I'll tell you, you know, Tim Nichols is one of my favorite people right now. I met Tim 2 or 3 years ago, and he brought this book called 3 million% into the Garland Referral Network. And after his presentation, I said, I am blown away that a book like this is even necessary. Who doesn't know that you have to develop relationships or deepen relationships with people, or that you need to find a way to elevate your profile or leverage networks, right? Or establish community. I mean, these are things that just seem so obvious, but most of us get caught up in the mechanics of our day-to-day life. You know, I've got this to do, this is on my checklist, I need to read this email and get this deal done. But if you're not out there working those networks, if you're not actively farming, what are you going to pick next week or next month or next year? And opportunities to step back and see the forest for the trees. And sorry for some agricultural metaphors.
No, but and I love what the late great Zig Ziglar is famously known for. He said, you can have anything you want as long as you help somebody else get what they want first. And I think a pitfall of the card pusher, and I'm going to call it the life insurance salesperson in a networking room, is they run around and try and sell. And that's not great networking, is it?
Absolutely not. And in fact, one of the earliest networking events I went to in my role in American Bank Business Finance, I actually saw somebody come into this event, and they had an app that they were selling. And their pitch was, you need to buy this, it's only $6.99. And they were looking to make as many sales as they could immediately. They forgot about the whole know, like, and trust part of developing the relationship. And I don't care what you're selling, it could be toilet paper. You have to trust the company that's putting that together.
Yes, absolutely.
So
we're going to put up on the screen some of the networking groups that you're a part of, and I don't know where you find the time because you're a busy guy. You're out there quite a bit.
You know, the Manufacturing Association and over in Garland, Dallas County Manufacturing Association, the Garland Chamber, lots of great businesses over there. And I was born and raised in Garland, so I grew up in the Dallas area. Went to Baylor, came back, got into IT consulting, and now I'm a banker. So it's all about relationships. And I think my perspective is I went from technology solutions to financial solutions for our customers.
Well, let's talk about how you make your money, because I think it's important. There's probably a lot of people watching right now who don't understand that, you know, if let's suppose you're a vendor of Walmart, well, Walmart they may buy your stuff, but they won't pay you right away.
Right. You know, one of the biggest challenges that small businesses encounter is they spend 30 days producing widgets or services of some kind, and then they generate an invoice and they send it to their customer. So as that's happening, they've already made payroll at the middle of the month and the end of the month. And now they're going to wait another 30 days, another 45 days for the check to come in the mail. So what accounts receivable financing does is when that invoice is generated, we look at the credit worthiness of our customers' clients. But when that invoice is generated, our customers send a copy of that invoice to us. They send a copy to their customer. And then on average, we put 85% of the value of that invoice into their bank account the next business day.
That's amazing.
And so it really is accelerated cash flow.
I think that's absolutely brilliant. Are you surprised at the lack of knowledge out there that something like this exists?
So I have to say yes, but as a small business owner for so many years, I was aware of it, and we used it in our technical consulting business. It was a great tool that we had in our financial toolkit. We had a small line of credit, we had an SBA loan that we're using for equipment, and we had a factoring line. And I think the most unfortunate thing that I see now is we have so many companies out there that they'll get a credit line and they'll run it up, and then they need something more. And because they've got this maxed out credit line, their options are limited because whoever it is that's extended that credit line has a UCC filing on their business,
right,
and they can't go get financing anywhere else until they clear that up. So one of the nice things about factoring is it's a recurring process where you send the invoice out, we advance the payments on that, the customer sends the payments for those invoices, and we're back to square one. And then it just repeats on the periodic basis that you generate invoices. And it can be one invoice for $750,000 or 100 invoices for $750,000. Those are kinds of the dynamics that our customers play in every day.
And I think it's important to develop a relationship with someone like Russell because, as COVID taught us, there's a lot of businesses in trouble. And what happens when a business gets in trouble, they start to slow pay.
Mm-hmm.
So having a relationship, even if they're not going to instantly use you, they'll get to that time when they have to, in case of emergency, break glass, right?
Yes. Well, and it was my favorite question in networking events last year. Raise your hand if you realize the importance of doing business with a bank that has an SBA department. Because there were so many companies that needed help with PPP loans, and they would go to their bank and they could not get a return call and they couldn't get an email. And so community banks like American Bank were able to respond quickly and to provide those PPP loans to our customers. And of course now, as those PPP loans are being exhausted, the funds from those are being exhausted, we're getting back into the regular flow of business where companies are working for other companies, those invoices are flying back and forth, and we're back into the, how can I get that money in my bank account more quickly? Because unfortunately, it's just a law of economics. If someone will loan you money for free for 45 days, will you do that? Will you borrow that money for 45 days for free? Sure you will. So as long as you allow your customers to do that, they will take advantage of that. But that's where we're there to help. We can accelerate that cash flow by paying you the next day for those invoices.
Outstanding. Okay, so we've got about a minute left. I'll give you the floor to kind of talk about the value of networking and why somebody absolutely needs to jump in with both feet.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no question that the foundation for everything that we need to be doing in business development is knowing, liking, and trusting. My rule number one is show up. If you don't know what you're doing, show up and pay attention to the way that things are going around you. The first letter I received in the U.S. mail was a couple of weeks after I was born, and the minister that I was named after said, you need to set definite goals, you need to start with what you have, and you need to trust in God. And so I believe that faith in the way that we set ourselves up with our goals and starting with what we have allows us to move and achieve and accomplish in ways that we can't possibly understand if we will fearlessly go out and just engage with people. The business will come. Don't be afraid. What was the line from Singles? Desperation is the world's worst cologne.
Absolutely. And you have convenient locations. We're going to put the locations up on the screen. They're in Irving and Dallas as well. And then we're going to end with the website, which is AmericanBankBusinessFinance.com. Russell Duckworth, thank you for coming on the show.
Jeff, thank you.
You bet. And that's it for now. We'll see you next time.